Alrighty, in this video I'm going to show you how to create a Hockney inspired collage photograph. So this video is going to cover a couple things. It's going to cover how to set up your photo montage. It's going to also show you how to change images to black and white, how to add strokes to images, which is that white outline. And we're also going to talk about how to add a vignette style and change some certain things with each layer, so layer blending. Okay, so the first thing that I want to show you is my Google Drive folder. So in my Drive, I have my digital imaging folder, and obviously we have our Warhol folder. Now I'm going to have my Hockney Montage folder. And this is where I'm going to put those 10 to 15 photographs of an object into my Google Drive so that they're easily accessible. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Hinsdale App Stream. The first thing that I need to do is get my images in. So I'm going to, there's a quick, easy way. I'm going to go to File, and I'm going to go to Automate. And you're going to see something here. You're going to see Photo Merge. I'll then go to Collage, and that's going to bring the photos in and collage them, which could be really cool. You could try reposition if you wanted to see what it does. So then I'm going to uncheck blend images together because I don't want these to blend. I want to see the edges of each photograph to create that awesome effect. So now I go to Browse. I'm going to go to this PC. I'm going to go to my Google Drive. I'll go to my Drive. I'll go to Digital Imaging. I'm going to go to my Hockney Montage folder, and you'll see I have all my photos here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of these photos. I'm going to click OK. It's going to put them all in there. I'll click OK again. You're going to get this message. If your photos go in as an HEIC, just keep clicking OK for a little while. It'll still put them all in. It might pop up a bunch of times. But if you keep clicking OK, as weird as this may seem, it'll still upload all your images. Again, it's going to just keep having you click OK for a little while. And eventually you'll get a loading screen. Give me 1 minute here. This is just the weird app stream issue. And there we go. So now it's going to pull all those photos in. And this is what's crazy is as it's doing this, boom, it takes those photos and it montages them together. And if you look over on the right, let me resize this. Each photo is now its own layer. So what I can do is adjust some of those. So if we look here, I'm going to make this a little bigger. So right here I have all 10 of my photos. And what's cool is if I go through, I can toggle them on and off and see where they're at. Now the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to add a white stroke to each photo so that I can see the outside edge. So I'm going to click on the layer over here on the right. I'm going to go to Edit, Stroke, and a stroke is basically an outline of an image or an object. So I can click here and change the color. So I'm going to make mine white. I think white looks the nicest. And I'm going to change it to 10 pixels. It should be a nice thick white line. And there you go. So I'm going to do that to each one. And unfortunately, you have to do each one at a time. I'm just breezing through. And this allows me again to see all the edges. I go to edit, stroke, change, make sure the color's there, and boom, edit, stroke. There we go. So now all of my photos have a nice white stroke. The next thing we're going to do is add a background color. Now, I like to choose a color that's within my photograph. I don't want to just choose blue or choose red. I want to look at my image and see what kind of colors I have here, and preferably take something dark. So maybe like a dark gray or even a close to a black. So again, we know how to do this. We go to our cookie. We're going to go to solid color. And I'm going to make this kind of like a nice, maybe I'll do like a yellowish gray, something along those lines. Click OK, and I'll drag that to the bottom. So now I kind of have my montage, but there's a couple things I want to do. I want to play around with the photos and the sizes of them and try to make it a little bit more jumbled, right? So like if you look, you can click these eyeballs and toggle off images and see what you get. Like I really actually like that right there. So what I could do is drag this one to the top. And now I can play around with some of these. So like if I have my move tool, which is these 4 arrows at the top, I can click on a photo. I can hit Control T. I can resize it. I can make it smaller. I can rotate it more. I just like to have a lot of photos sticking out. So then I'll hit Return. I'll click the next photo. I'll resize it, hit Control T. Maybe I make this one taller, maybe a little skinnier. Click this one. So this is the stage where we go around and we kind of play around with the photos. Maybe we rotate them a bunch, move them in, move them out, get some dimension. What we're trying to get here is just nice. Maybe that one I even delete. Maybe I don't like that one. Maybe I'll delete that layer. I don't think I need it. I like this one sticking out. I like this one. Maybe I'll make this front one bigger. And this is where your artistic choices come into play. Whatever you want to do, however you want this to look, is totally your call. But again, we want good. This is just kind of loading. We just want good dimension and good changes in size and scale and all of that. So maybe I'll hit Control T on this one. I'll pull this one a little farther down. Boom. This little guy back here, I can maybe rotate a little. Get that nice photo corner there. Perfect. And there we go. We kind of got something good now where I can see all the photographs and I can start to see the entirety of the image. I can start to see what's going on in the photo. In fact, that one I might delete. Good. This one I might drag a little over there. Perfect. Just like that. So I have all the stuff that's happening in the background. I can see my computer on the left there. It starts to create the entirety of the space. And that's kind of what we want. We want it to be distinguishable. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and I'm going to add, I can change kind of the color of each one of these. So I'm going to leave this first one normal. And maybe I'll change, let's change this bottom corner one here. Let's make that black and white. I'm going to go to Image, Adjustments, Black and White. Click OK. Maybe I'll make this one with the computer on the left. I'll move it there so you can see. I'm going to make that one black and white too. Bingo. Now maybe I will adjust the brightness of some of these and make some of them brighter and some of them darker. That's going to create depth in this photograph. I can even adjust, so if I click on one of these, let's make this top left corner photo a little darker. I'm going to go to Image, Adjustments, Brightness, Contrast. Now reduce the brightness a little bit. Maybe I'll take this front one. I'll make that one a little bit brighter. I'll increase the contrast of it. Maybe this bottom one. I'll make this one a little bit darker. And so forth. So now we start getting dimension into this collage. We start having depth, and we can start seeing how these photos pop in and pop out. I'm going to adjust the contrast of some of these black and whites just because they're a little flat. Bingo. Adjustments, contrast, bingo, click OK. So now what I have here is I have some good contrast, I got some good change in photographs, I got some good adjustments with brightness and contrast. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add what we call layer blending. Now, what we can do is when we click on a layer, I'm going to add what we call a drop shadow. So I'm going to, over here in this blank gray space on this layer, I'm going to double click. And you get all of these options. Now, we'll get through some of these as we move forward, but I'm going to go all the way down to drop shadow. And you're going to notice around the photo, if I click on that, I can create a drop shadow. So if you look, the more opaque, it's the darker it gets. The distance talks about how far that drop shadow moves. We don't want it to go too far. The spread is how hard or soft that drop shadow is. We want it nice and soft. And then the size is a little bit how much it moves and spreads. We don't want it like sharp. We just want it nice and soft. This little circle with the angle allows you to change the direction of that drop shadow. I kind of like to leave it right where it is so that I get two sides having a good drop shadow on this photo. I'm going to click OK. And that now, when I click on the next one and go to drop shadow, it'll automatically add the same setting that I have. So if I double click, I check the box drop shadow, I click OK. I double click on the layer, I check the drop shadow box, I click OK. I double click the layer, I click the drop shadow box, I click OK. I double click the layer, check the drop shadow box, and click OK. I'm going to do that all the way around. And boom. And there we have it. Now we have awesome photos with these drop shadows. They have a stroke. And we've got a nice kind of montage going here. So now what I'm going to do is the last thing is I'm going to show you how to add what we call a vignette. And a vignette is what you've probably seen in your phones when you do photo filters. Basically, a vignette is like, we're going to darken the four corners around this montage. So I'm going to add a new layer, and I'm going to put this layer all the way to the top. I'm going to grab a paintbrush, and I'm going to grab black paint by clicking on my swatches. And now what I'm going to do is make sure I have a soft brush. So I'll make sure the hardness is 0. And then I'll make the opacity like 24%. And I'm going to make this nice and big. And I can brush kind of around the outside of this photo. and create a nice vignette. This also adds depth. It creates dimension in the piece. And that's kind of what we want to get with a Hockney photo montage, is we want depth and dimension. And what creates that? It's the stroke that we added. It's the drop shadow that we added. It's also the contrast and the coloring of each photo that we changed. And it's also the vignette that we added in the background. So really some awesome effects. Obviously, the biggest suggestion is when you're taking your photos to make sure that you're taking 10 to 15 photos of an object or a space from different angles, turning the camera but keeping the subject in that photo frame. So again, have fun with this. Play around, be creative, try different things, and see how you like it. So now we'll talk about saving. So I'm going to go to File. I'll go to Save As. Save on your computer. Just kind of loading here. Remember to always save often, because this could eventually, if your session times out, you want to make sure you're constantly saving your work, because it won't automatically save it for you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this as Hockney Collage Final. I'm going to save this as a JPEG because I'm done. If you're not done, you need to save it as a Photoshop document. So where do I save this? I click this PC. I go to Google Drive. I go to my drive. And I'm going to find that Hockney Montage folder. I'm going to save it there. And then that's what we'll turn in. Again, if you're not done, you need to save it as a Photoshop document. If it's done, save it as a JPEG. All right, enjoy. Have fun.